You build something, a table, a bookcase, a shelf, a career path, a relationship, and you love it. Not because it's good, but because you built it. And people normally refer to this as something like sentimentality. It's not. What we're talking about is a measurable bias with a name. And it's this same bias that makes you love your wonky shelf is the same reason that you can't walk away from something that's actively hurting you, like a toxic relationship or a dead career path. This is the IKEA effect, and its much less charming cousin, sunk cost. My name is John. I'm studying psychotherapy, and I find all this stuff fascinating. So, in this video, we're going to talk about why effort makes you love something that technically doesn't deserve it, and why the same bias keeps people in relationships and things like jobs long after their expiry date, and why a 1985 study on theatre tickets has anything or everything got to do with it. So, this is all backed by the original IKEA effect research and Arcs and Bloomer's sunk cost work. And we'll talk briefly about the investment model of commitment. So everybody has felt this at some stage. You build a flat pack piece of furniture you bought in IKEA and somehow it feels better than the identical one in the showroom, even though yours might have turned out technically worse. You finish a DIY project and you're so proud of it, even if it would make a professional wince at your creation. You write something, a song, a poem, or even a piece of code, and you defend it harder than you ever would defend someone else's identical work. And we all assume that this is normal pride or professional pride for a job well done, and you should be proud of yourself. Or at least that's the story we all tell ourselves. But the actual mechanism at play here isn't pride in a job well done. It's something colder, something far more automatic than that, which doesn't actually care if the outcome was good or bad.
So, for example, this is my bench. It's old, it's rotting, it's falling apart, but I love it more than anything else I could buy because I built it. Food tastes better while I'm sitting at this table. This is the IKEA effect. The research had participants build IKEA boxes, build Lego sets, and fold origami. And across the board, each participant valued what they built more than the pre-built versions, even though they were identical, which means it was the effort of building it that inflated the value, not the outcome, the effort. The mechanism underneath all this is called effort justification. It's a form of cognitive dissonance. Your mind needs the effort you put into something to have been worth it. So it adjusts the evaluation of the outcome upwards based upon how much effort you put into it, as opposed to basing the evaluation on the outcome itself. Now, this is all wonderfully charming when we're talking about my bench or your wonky bookshelf, but it's completely different when we're discussing a toxic relationship or a career. 5 years of your life that you put into something. Enter sunk cost. So the research behind the investment model of commitment from 1980, I think it was, showed that people stay committed to relationships based on three things, which are satisfaction, quality of alternatives, and investment. Not just if the relationship is good or not, but how much they've already put into it. And the model itself predicts very cleanly that some people will stay in a relationship, not out of the joy of the relationship, but based upon how much they've already put into it. They will stay in a relationship they're not satisfied with because the previous investment is doing all the work the satisfaction should be doing. You see, this is exactly the same bias that makes you love your wonky shelf, but is now running on a much, much higher stakes target. Then to add to this, back in 1985, there was a field study carried out involving Ohio University theater season tickets. Some people paid full price and some people were given a discount. Same access, same shows. The tickets were exactly the same except for the price that people paid. And what the study showed was the people who paid full price went to significantly more shows than the people who were given a discount. They went even on bad weather and inconvenient nights. Or the other way to look at it is nothing changed except what they had already spent. The sunk cost. This is the sunk cost effect, continuing to invest in something because of what you have already invested. Even if the smart move is to stop. Not because the thing itself is good, but deciding to walk away would mean the investment didn't pay off. Rebel. So it's the same route as the IKEA effect. But the IKEA effect makes you love something you've built. But sunk cost makes you unable to walk away from it. One is the warm version, and the other is the trap. And this shows up everywhere. It shows up everywhere where identity and effort overlap. It's the reason you can't walk away from a job that you've outgrown. The relationship that has stopped working, but it ended long before either people wanted to admit it. Out loud, at least. And the project, creative, personal, or romantic, that you keep funding long beyond the point that anybody else would. This is a predictable, well-documented bias that evolved for a reason. It's what makes people stay loyal to commitments and finish things that they started, which is useful most of the time. It's the same wiring that keeps a marriage together through the hard years, but also stops you from walking away from a relationship that is 4 years past its expiry date. So what actually helps you decide whether it's time to leave this relationship or leave the job that you've outgrown, that you've put 5 years of your life into? And it's not just leave, because that's not how this bias works. You can't out willpower a cognitive bias just because you know it exists. But you can change how you ask the question to yourself. The standard advice is just ignore the sunken cost because it's gone anyway. The time is gone anyway. And that is true, but it's useless on its own. Nobody successfully is able to tell themselves just ignore the past 5 years and feel better about the situation. It doesn't work like that. The much more useful move is to separate the question you're asking yourself. Separate, was it worth it, from, is it still worth it? Because they are two very different questions, and what sunk cost does is it collapses both those questions into one. Keeping them separate is the actual skill. You're allowed to say that the previous 5 years mattered to you, and the next 5 years shouldn't look the same. Your past investments should not dictate your future actions. If it wasn't worth it, that's a sunk cost. Like the learning curve is, even if the outcome failed, was the experience worth it for your personal or professional growth? And then look at regret versus relief. Do you look back with peace, or are you dwelling on the what ifs? And try writing down the exact time and money invested. And then try and way to quantify the emotional toll, just to tell yourself, was it actually worth it? I know it's apples and oranges, but it might give you some frame of reference. It's asking if the outcome justifies the balance. Or try the if I started it today test. If you hadn't made your original choice, would you still voluntarily enter the same situation today? Would you walk into the same thing today? Or look at your current quality of life. Are your current daily returns, so your happiness,
or your financial stability or your peace of mind outweighing the daily drain of still committing to this. Or look at your future return on investment. So will staying on this path, same path tomorrow, get you closer to your future goals, your actual goals? You didn't fall in love with the shelf because it was good. You fell in love with it because you built it. And that's really fine for a shelf. But it's also worth checking what else you're still building for the same reason. The IKEA effect and sunk cost are both ultimately about the same question, the same decision. Am I here because it is still worth it? Or am I here because leaving would mean admitting that my investment didn't pay off? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. There's loads more content like this on the way. I would really appreciate it.